All right, family, it's your brother Asad, and we are back again with another quick video. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notifications bell so that you'll be notified when we drop new material on this channel. Secondly, in terms of housekeeping, I got to give a special and a significant and a particular and a peculiar shout out to my South African family for all the love you guys have shown this channel. My wife, myself, my children, we greatly appreciate it. Third, in terms of housekeeping, we ain't got no third today. No, bam, bam, bam. But we are elated to have our very special guest here today. Oh, no, we do have a third one. One-way essay. Bam, 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 just like that. One-way essay. Always one-way essay for anybody looking for assistance with property purchases, visa process, all that good stuff. Holler at us, as well as anyone. I know it's not my people that's my regular watchers, but in case you know someone who needs an apartment in Malvern, not Melville. Malvern. For between about $2,000, $2,500 a month. I think we got 3 apartments available, maybe 2 now. I will leave the link in the description so you can reach out to the property manager. So now that that's out the way, just like that, bam, 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 we have a very special guest. So I like to intro this by saying a lot of people think that African Americans just started coming to South Africa maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, and
you started watching YouTube.
When you jumped on YouTube, and that's when they started coming, right? I have met people who have literally been here for 25 and 26 years. I met a man from Harlem, New York, who has 2 sons. He's from Harlem, and his wife is from Harlem, but they moved here right after apartheid, right at the end of apartheid, and their children are technically African Americans because both of their parents are African Americans, but they have South African accents because they were born in South Africa and grew up in South Africa, right? So yeah, there are people who have been here a mighty long time and who have been coming and engaging with SA a mighty long time. So this sister that we have today, no, she ain't come because she saw no YouTube video.
She ain't no Johnny come late.
No, we came because we was watching YouTube. No, we came because we couldn't afford Ghana. Right? We were trying to go to Ghana to get a return. And we're like, whoa, look at the prices. But so Sister Eshanda, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm good. Just trying to absorb the energy, you know. I want to be just as inspired as the 2 of you.
It's hard. It's hard. Coffee. But no. So I'm glad, first of all, thank you so much for coming on, but I wanted to have this conversation because of that misconception. And I think we're going to start like a mini series of long-termers, right? People who've been here for some time. So vets, right? OGs, trendsetters, pioneers, right? all those words. So let's start here and then we'll go around into the story. When did you first visit SA?
So my first trip was in 2000, and I shouldn't say trip. I came on a fellowship in 2002. So 20 plus years ago. I don't know what number, 25, 23, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Wow. Now, that fellowship, what first of all, did you pursue it, or was it something that fell in your lap, or?
No, I did pursue it. I was at Howard in grad school. Knew I wanted to come on to the continent. I actually had visited a couple years before, and I knew I wanted to come. So I had started seeking out job opportunities through the State Department. And of course, you have to have a bit of an experience, in terms of having overseas or international experience. So I had started to seek out how I could get to Africa. And so I came, I applied, and of course, went through the interview process and got accepted. It was called International Foundation for Self-Help, started by Leon Sullivan. Yeah, so it was I was seeking.
Wow. And that's and I know people will say, y'all dark on that doctor side, y'all got to get y'all lighting. We sitting outside and the sun is over here. In order for this light to improve, I ain't gonna be baking. So that's less than that's so less than that's what happened?
I said that's Nolans right there.
So that's less than 10. So 2002 is less than 10 years after the end of apartheid.
Yeah.
So what does South Africa look like as an African American then?
2002.
And more importantly, what was the energy like?
Yeah, good question. And very, yeah, it was definitely, they were just ripe in terms of they were still ripe and newly out of apartheid. And I would say the culture and the people, very humbled. I feel like and in terms of humble, I want to say like shell shock humbled, because they could tell that they were not as alive in terms of their living and their experience and how they were actually activating and moving after and going forward to their experience. They were still a little, trying to figure it out, a little foggy on, the exact road forward, what it would look like, it would feel like. And I think, that was just a part of their conscientizing, themselves of like, what the hell just happened,
Yeah.
So it was a definitely different experience than, it was just a different experience. Even in terms of customer service changed, I would say over the last, 10 to 20 years. When you came to South Africa in 2002, in the early 2000s, it was very much, very, service-based. And, and at that time, you just didn't see a lot of brown people in restaurants. It was just not, it was typical. You saw them working, but you didn't necessarily see them sitting and eating and doing the social thing. Yeah, chatting up and all of that. That wasn't as, you saw brown people, but you didn't see them in the numbers that we see today, thankfully.
Wow, because it was, what's the brother's name? Akeem. Yeah. Akeem. He's also, I think he's a Howard grad or maybe USC, one of the two. But he's from that DC. Well, he's from South Carolina, East Coast area. But he said he came here in 1996, and he left in 2008. And he and his wife and Adrian and I went out to eat, and we were at like a Life Grand restaurant or whatever, and he looked around because he left in 2008. He married a South African woman. They moved back to the US, and then early last year they moved back to South Africa. And he said, man, when I left in 2008, this wasn't happening. Like we looking around Life Grand, like all these beautiful black people. He was like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't like that in 2008. I was like, for real? Like that was just the other day.
The other day, exactly. It's true. I think, I would definitely give, compliments to the World Cup, and I don't know if that was a global strategy, but I do feel like that gave a lot more, what should we say, maybe pride, like open pride to South Africa, where on all sides, it wasn't just, being a white South African proud, but it was like, I'm Black and I'm South African, and we have the FMB stadium, in the township, and we also have Orlando State, things, markers that actually for them indicated like we are moving with the world, like we are growing, we are, meeting some developmental points, and people want to be here, and people came here. So I think that actually injected that energy and the flow.
Wow.
We see
I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's really cool because a lot of people had exposure to South Africa through the World Cup, coming to the World Cup, and probably saw all of this potential and beauty, and were like, whoa.
And that made South Africans feel pretty good. Like, all right, our country's on the ball.
It put them on the map. It definitely did. And don't get me wrong, when I was here, 2002, 2003, I was in my 20s. So I had an opportunity to like really get out and hang with some of the young professionals. There were definitely pockets of, of young professionals, and I'm sure older folk too, but, I was in the groove with the younger people. And so, when you went to the township or you went to certain areas, outside of maybe Stanton and, in the South, that's at least where I saw a lot of the young Black professionals. And that's where that was kind of that was their base. And so you have, young doctors, lawyers, whatever, they would set themselves up, and you go, you could go and move in and out of house parties, which were extremely popular back then. And that was the vibe. It was still, South Africa still had a vibe. Don't get me wrong. It was a house party vibe, a house music vibe, but it was just, it was kind of, it was kind of that idea of, where to do your stuff in your space. It wasn't sprinkled around. I think now it's more, places are more populated with brown people. So you can see, okay, there's something going on in Sandton, there's something going on, in these different little suburbs, there's something going on in Basonia, South, but it's like, it's all over now, where it was much more centralized from my experience. I can't say, it's the only lens, that, should understand South Africa from, but it's definitely has changed in terms of nightlife and just in the vibe of SA.
Yeah, I mean, because it's quite amazing to hear that, because one of the reasons why we fell in love with South Africa when we came in 2019 was like, because we saw Black people everywhere. We were, no matter where we were, they were in the restaurants and, in the luxury stores. Yeah. I knew I fell in love when I came back in 2021 and they had the COVID, right? And I saw the Black people in front of them. I don't know if that's the Louis Vuitton or the Gucci store. It was a line of Black people. I said, they just. So.
Yeah, sorry. I got froze there for a minute, but yeah, exactly. Lined up. Yeah, I got froze. But yeah, lined up just like they should be, and they should be a part of the market when and where they can, so absolutely. It's a different day now. It's a different day.
So now you have, 2002, you come to visit, but you didn't move in 2002.
Oh no.
What led you back, and what were you doing between 2002 and when you made your way back?
Yeah. No, so it was a fellowship. I was here for about 9 months, just under a year. I left and I would come back. So I'd been coming back on and off for visits. I had met my current husband at the time, but we were still dating, long distance dating. We tried to extend it. So I would say over probably the course of maybe 5 or 6 years, like maybe 6 years, I'll say, I would come back and I would actually, or we would meet and rendezvous, what have you, but I would have a little bit of a footprint here because I brought groups back, I brought, I've had experiences with others, like my parents, we came back. So it was not that I had left and completely just said, oh, okay, that's good. It was fun moving on to the next country, next place. It was more of like, just continuing to cultivate the experience, to go dig a little deeper, see different parts over the years. And then I was hoping in the US to actually land a position where I could actually be based or, basically get paid dollars and be based in South Africa. So I was looking for programming that was South African focused or Southern African focused. So I was in between New York, Pennsylvania, DC, just trying to navigate and trying to land my feet, where I really wanted and had vision for. And so in 2016, I came back for an actual visit and reconnected with my my current husband, who we had kind of drifted and went our own ways over the years. But we reconnected, came back, and that's kind of when I started really, the two of us, started really thinking about, okay, what would my coming back look like if I were to come back to South Africa? So 2017, I came back a few times, and then end of 2017, I truly, I'm sorry, 2016, I'm saying that right. 2017, I came a few times, and then December 2017 is when I officially knew this is a transition that I'm actually going to be working towards. So I, kind of landed and knew, okay, whatever work I have, it has to come with me. And then whatever I need to do to recreate the work life is coming. Yep.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
So let's talk about, I guess, the changes that you've seen since 2002, other than Black folks now being mixed in. I know sometimes we hear critiques and sometimes we hear praises. So in your opinion, what are maybe the top two things that you've seen that have changed in almost 20 years, over 20 years?
20 years. It's over 20. Oh, it's a good one. So I would definitely say, I think some of what we've kind of touched on, which is, you see a lot more brown people of color in spaces that, are entertainment and social based, not just in the home, not in the traditional context of what life is in Africa, I should say, so you see them creating experiences, you know what I mean? So you see pool parties, or, you see kind of that luxury lifestyle being reflected, that was definitely not, it existed, but it wasn't like, it existed in its own little pockets. That has shifted now. It's across economic, economic frames, so it doesn't, it doesn't matter if you're in the township or if you're in the higher end suburbs. Those experiences, the young people, or, whatever, middle-aged people are creating what they want you to see and understand about their culture. So, and I say it in a way where it's not that they've never done that. It's just that it's maybe because of social media, it's way more on display. You know what I mean? So it's much more, it's an image, like we're creating this, and it's a culture, becomes a culture.
That's true.
So I would say that's interesting to observe. I think you can also see it through the music, how the music has, changed, and it's growing in its expression. And with Ampiano, back when I was here, it was Kwaito was the thing. And then Kwaito kind of fizzled out. House music was always their thing and still is, it's always in the background. But you can see through those reference points that, okay, there's a lot of growth in not just on a global growth scale. I think the music is globally being recognized. For the continent, not just Ampiano for the Ampiano for Nigeria, for the continent. The second thing I would say, I think the second part is it's a hard one, because I think the economics of the country it definitely offers people the ability to have some mobility, but you still see that there's a lot of things that have yet to be worked on. So some strides have been made, but then it's just like, okay, but there's still some, I don't want to say backsliding, but maybe just some paused walking, I don't know what to call it, but like some walking in place situations.
Moonwalking? No, I don't call it
moonwalking. Yeah, maybe a little bit of that. Something like that. You know what I mean? Where people are just it's not producing the actual results that you would expect 10, 20, 30 years from, from the time that you first got introduced. So
Do you Eshanda, do you think, because it is a multicultural nation, do you think that over these past 20 years, you've seen more interaction between different groups or different ethnic groups of people, what we see now?
Yeah, I would say definitely slowly you're seeing it, but it's becoming more present, in terms of Black and, biracial children or biracial couples. You did not witness that when I was here. Very, very rarely. And if you did see multicultural kind of engagements when I had my experience, it was because of the university, because these that type of thing, so academe, made spaces for the rubbing and the kind of the rubbing of shoulders type thing. So
So that's so strange, because what it sounds like is the 1960s, or something for Black Americans in terms of that relation. Well, if that's any indication, like it's about to be a whole bunch of race mixing in about 10 years.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Is an indication.
We
I don't
will.
know. I don't.
I think we will see that, if we're here or if we're able to come back and witness it, I do feel like that's where they're heading. You can
I'm
even
about to be here. That's I'm about to. Long as Allah say the same, I'm about to ain't going to.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So now this new interest that African Americans have in SA, where is that coming from in your opinion? And what do you think about it?
Or do you think there's more of an interest now than when you
Well, yeah. Do you think that?
Yeah. So I think there is always the interest by a small fraction of the African American community. And we'll just use bogus numbers, but let's say, that fraction is like 10% of the African American population. And that other 90%, and these are not the real stats. So please, your people do not quote. But that other 90%, I think they're kind of, some of them are like, hell no, I want to say maybe a good 60% is like, hell no, and then you have the others that remaining, what is that, 30%, that is kind of in the middle, right? So I feel like that middle, that 30% in the middle has become more, apt to wanting to see more of what they were maybe saying no about. So they're trying to uncover that, if that makes sense. So perhaps again, blessings to social media, the exposure that people have offered them through video and through showing Africa, and not just you seeing it on a commercial about babies being hungry or malnourished, but you actually seeing footage and actually seeing engagements on the continent that expand beyond asking for money. Right. It's like, it's an eye opener. It's that conscientizing piece. It's like, oh, okay, you raised someone who was in that 30% kind of, bracket to like say, I want to go see this for myself, and they move past what maybe, their ancestor who might have gotten in their ear at some point, in terms of misnomers, they move past those misnomers or those false commentary for Africa. And I definitely feel like there is a push for more representation or more representation from African Americans on the continent because of their curiosity has been piqued, and I think, of course, like most things, once one is piqued, the next one, it's almost like you're able to, grow a garden because you're sharing a seed, it's getting pollinated. A family member who thought all negatives now has someone who's gone and come back a few times and they're like, wait, maybe I can also do the same. Why can't I?
Right.
So it's the wokeness. I think we've always been awake to it, but we have been afraid because of what someone may have said. So I definitely feel like there are less people afraid and more people curious. And that's what we see. We see curious folk here.
Man, that's powerful. And I think Black Panther had a role to play with people that, I'm not joking. I really do think that Black Panther, the movie, had a role to play. When that movie came out, Negroes was going to the mall, to the movies, buying dashikis, all kind of African head wrap, all kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, wait a minute.
The role of culture. I mean, it does.
The mass media, and they're like, well, maybe I should go visit. And I'll tell you another thing that I think the entire continent benefited from and may owe a debt to Ghana was the year of the return. Because the year of the return got us to South Africa because we couldn't afford it, right? But also they were very strategic in using like celebrity status. Boris Kojo, what's her name? Nicole Parker? Something like that. His wife. But she's kind of more famous than him. I forgot her name though. But they use these, and Cardi B ends up in Nigeria. You know what I'm saying? Like they use celebrity to kind of introduce. And just last night I was watching a clip of Steve Harvey, and the title was "Them Africans is Us." Shout out to Steve Harvey. But in that clip, he said, you have to go to Ghana, you have to go to Botswana, and you have to go to Johannesburg, and you will realize that you've been lied to about so much. right?
Yeah.
And he said that he's making it his goal to connect the continent with African Americans. So yeah. So Steve Harvey hosted Family Feud South Africa. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And even in Senegal what is it? Akon, he's been doing his own, pool of promotions as well. And my first trip to the continent was in 1999, right before the turn of we were leaving 99. So everybody was afraid that we were going to have a full world blackout. I can't remember what they called it back then, but yes. So it was very interesting to be out of America.
Y2K.
Yes, I was right on the continent, Y2K. And it's and it's just in terms of like a place to visit, a place to seek out, it's just its own experience. We cannot, I guess, boast enough about it changes your life, like any travel does, any travel changes your life. But I think as African Americans or people of the African diaspora, it's so important for us to see something that we tend to like glorify and also romanticize, because it's not all pretty. There's some parts where it's just like, okay, we got that same stuff going on in our community. It's just that it's Africa, you know what I mean? So it's like, this is the same internalized racism that I'm talking about that I see at home. Now I'm seeing it here, so but it's important, I think, for us to do our part to expose ourselves. Don't let someone else, drive your cart. You need to drive your cart. Where do you need to be? And I think the continent is a definite, even for our young people. It's like, some of them are a little bit wayward and lost and not sure what they want to do with their lives. You know what? Some of them need to land right on one of these countries and spend a little bit, humble themselves, get a little bit connected. And I'm not saying that we are all like a direct descendant of where we land, but we are definitely cultural, qualities and values and nuances that, we can see when you're on the continent. You're just like, okay.
Right.
And it's true. Like, that's important that you said that about the young people, because working at the university and then just running into people, you really see like the difference in the 19-year-old South African male versus maybe the 19-year-old African American male. And now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be we got a lot of brothers. In fact, the majority of African American brothers who are about 19 years old are trying to do something with their lives, either in school, working, the military, whatever have you. But there's just this large contingency, which it's a small minority, but it gets the most attention, who are kind of out there doing all the wrong stuff. And when I came here, I had to break myself. It's a word that I want to use, but I'm not going to. I had to de-negrify, and that ain't the word I want to use. I had to de-negrify myself.
A new coined word. Let's make sure we put that in Wikipedia and make sure you put your signature. My coined word is white psychosis, so I understand.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, because I would see these young brothers, and in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, that's a young, he young. All I see is young and black. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm on guard. Am I about to get robbed or whatever have you? And that's partly the post-traumatic trauma, post-traumatic stress we deal with coming from a very rough city. But then I realized, oh no, these are some of the most respectful and nice, and you just had to. So then I see them. I see the South Africans that we interact with a lot of times as maybe representing the potential of what I see young African American men and women, particularly young African American men, could be. When I see them, I'm like, man, that's how we supposed to be acting. That's how we supposed to interact with each other, and embracing that, man.
Inspiring.
Sitting at that conference.
Yeah.
When you and I were sitting at that conference, and and I'm listening to these people talk about smart cities and all of this stuff, and it didn't really have anything to do with race. It didn't have anything to do with like white supremacy. None of those things were really a topic, right? It was about infrastructure. It was about innovation. It was about technology, right? And it's just very rare. It's very rare to find those spaces just for Black folk in the United States.
Yeah.
And then, you know, or filled with Black folk in the United States. So, but anyway.
And to be constructive, you know, because I think that's what you're talking about. It's like these are constructive conversations about building and about, you know, visioning what we want. Right. You know, and having conversation around vision is not always where a 19-year-old is. It's based on his environment. And I'm not, of course, like you said, not generalizing, but some of them that have issues in trying to get direction, it's like, okay, well, maybe you need a bit of a change so that you can get your mind right.
Right.
Like get your mind right, you know, because there's plenty that we have to do. We've come far, but we have more work to do. There's more that needs to be done. There's still, you know, battles that need to be won, you know, that our ancestors had set up, and they had fought for us. And now we are in position to do the, you know, the tail end or whatever, or the remaining parts of the fight, you know, making sure that we realize their dreams. We are, you know, we are helping to realize some of those dreams. So let us not lose direction, you know, on, you know, what they had fought for and what we should continue to, and I don't want to make it like it's a fight, but what we should continue to expect. These are expectations of, you know, our humanity as people of color, as people of African diaspora, as Black people, as African Americans, whatever you want to, however you want to frame it, you know, but these are the expectations of our ancestors we're standing on, but we still have expectations of today that we need to stand on and we need to be mindful of. And that's what we need to continue to turn young people and people in general to be moving and operating behind. Don't lose focus. You know, it's important that we stay focused.
Yep, absolutely. Indeed. I want to touch also on, I know we have to go because we got to pick children up. Although he goes to school like across the street.
It's all
he still wants to be picked up.
That's right.
More than just
I'm with him.
No,
I'm with him. It's happened here too now with children, you know, and yes.
So that romanticization, is that right? Did I say it right? I don't know. Romanticizing. There we go. Yeah. The romanticizing of the continent. I want you to touch on that. And here's why, because I've seen, we did a video about it, a couple of African Americans who have come to South Africa, and I believe they were romanticizing, right?
Yeah.
Africa, South Africa. They may have been here for like a 5-day visit. Then they decided, damn, I'm moving. And then they have all of these criticisms.
Life.
Right. Then real life hits them. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Every place has its problems.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I feel like you have to, you know, how do I put this? So it's important to have moderation. So yes, you're moving, but you can still go home. You can, or home as in you can return to the US. You can even be very strategic about, okay, every 3 months I need to go because I need to just kind of reset, make sure, you know, I don't get caught in the funk of criticism. I think as Americans, we're kind of taught to criticize, you know, so we're constantly in an environment, but, you know, I think we're in an environment where it's okay to criticize. And in some cases, it's the thing that they do, it's the culture. So I think it's important, you know, people like, okay, you can criticize a bit, but then after a while, you need to kind of put a little bit of a halt to it because you're trying to create a new experience. So if you're only criticizing, then that means that you're not creating. You're criticizing. You know, you're caught in a you know, a bit of a soundbite. Yeah, a cycle. Thank you. So it's always be clear about where you are so that you can continue to kind of create and be kind of that in that driving seat of where you're going. You know, so yeah, so just you know, the main thing is don't lose that, you know, and if you get caught in the cycle, then step out, go back to the US or go to another country. I have people who are also like, you know, I may need to go because, you know, these things, home affairs isn't working out, you know, and so I'm like, yeah.
Well, no, that's a legitimate.
There's no romanticizing around that. But
yeah. Home affairs got no work to do.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
Shout
They
out to
do.
them fans that got our visa straight, but I mean, yeah.
The first round.
The first round. We got,
Yes. So yeah, so it's just mainly make stay focused on what creating. Make sure your mindset is in creation mode and not in if you're in criticism mode, you can't build from that. You can't.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well,
All right.
any final words to the YouTube audience or the African Americans that may be watching, or the South
You
Africans?
might want to move here.
Yeah. Listen, life is short, life is fleeting. You have to do what your heart desires while you can. Don't wait until you're older. Don't wait until. Just do it. I think, and it's a step out of your comfort zone, but it's a step into creating your own lived experience. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just one step at a time. You have a community here, and in most parts of the world, you have a community, that's waiting for you. So that's my only advice. Be ready for them, be open to them, and be ready for the new experience. It's you just don't know. We don't know when our time is when our dash is going to have a number that follows it. So create the experience, we just don't know.
Oh, that's gravity.
Yeah, but it's the truth.
Lord.
Cold hard truth.
I was talking with my son the other day, and he's like a science geek, and he was telling me about the when the sun is going to burn out. He was like, it's going to burn out in 4 billion some odd years or something like that. I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna be an old man at that time." I don't be thinking about all those dying and stuff. I'm gonna be old, gee. Yeah. But anyway, it was absolutely wonderful speaking with you, Eshanda. This is a great conversation. Yeah, this is a great conversation.
It was good. It was good.
Yeah. So I think that's it. We're gonna wrap it up. Family, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, share the video, and we'll be back soon with another episode or video or whatever. All right. Peace.
All right. Be well. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.